Hey golfers, so in today's video we're going to be talking about that dreaded term in golf that we hear all the time, over the top move or outside to in. So I've had quite a few students showing up lately since the new year, people wanting to get, either get into the game or they want to make their game better for this coming season. And we see a lot of that, right? Ball starting way left and curving back way to the right. So in today's video, we're going to talk a lot about club path. We're going to be talking about face as well. So we're going to try to get that in a good spot for you to take into the new season and hopefully see yourself hitting some draws this year rather than big slices. So this video is going to be particularly good for newer, younger players that are getting into the game who may be coming from baseball, a sport that relies a lot on rotation. We're going to be using that to our advantage in golf, but we have to understand how to use that. All right, guys, so as we jump in here, we have to address a few things and get some numbers and understand that to start. So I'm gonna be saying the words club path, face angle, and then face to path. So on this particular shot behind me, we see on the right, we see the tracer, and we see a line down the center which represents our target, right? So this ball starts left of that target and then curves back to the right. So when we look at the data, I'll display it somewhere on the screen. My club path was traveling 11 degrees to the left. So negative 11 we're going to see on a lot of today's technology. All of them I think are going to say negative. So it's traveling negative 11 degrees to the left, which may not seem like a lot when I say degrees, but in golf that matters so much. So the path is traveling left negative 11 degrees. And then the face angle here, the face is actually closed 3.7 degrees. So it's actually slightly closed to where our target is. However, the face angle, where the face is pointed relative to how the club is traveling through space, the club path, we then get a number called face to path. And that face to path number on this particular shot I hit was 7.5. It's a positive number, so that means to the right. So generally speaking, when I'm talking about these terms, a negative number means left and a positive number means right. So here we saw the ball started negative 11 left. I had my face closed slightly to the target, but relative to the path, it was wide open. So if you need to rewind this, rewind it just so we get an understanding of these. Alrighty, so now I'm going to kind of explain the club path a little bit more in depth. So if I lay this stick down and imagine that stick traveled forever at our target, we're going to classify that stick as 0. So that would be if my club at the moment of impact was traveling perfectly down that line, that'd be 0. A negative 11, like we got up on the screen there, the club would be traveling from the outside to the inside. So from outside of that line to the inside, across, we'll call it 11 degrees. That's a lot. And then the opposite of that would be like a positive 11, or the path traveling that way. So this would be referred to as inside to out, right? So I generally say to players, hey, I really don't want you over a positive 5 or over a negative 5. So somewhere in the plus or minus 3 degree range would be awesome if we can get a lot of players to that. But you can be successful if you're not at that range. So now that we have club path understood, let's talk about why many of you, especially we see in some baseball players, why you guys have the path going so far to the left. So for so long in golf, people talked about rotation. You just need to rotate as much as you can. Well, the thing is, rotation I think has been taught too much and probably not understood correctly. So many people take the club up and they're just like, hey, I just need to rotate more. So they take the club up to the top and then they're like, hey, I just got to rotate. So what they do with their hips and with their upper body, they just rotate it. They just spin it out, right? And what you notice there when I did that, my hands are going to go out. And then when my hands are out that far and I continue to spin my body, it's going to pull the club left. So if we think about in tennis or in table tennis, if you're trying to hit like a spinny shot or a shot that goes real short, you're going to take the racket from the outside to the inside and hit across it and kind of graze it and add a bunch of spin. So that's essentially what's happening in the golf swing for you guys when you're just thinking rotation. So what I kind of want us to do now is understand how we need to actually properly shift and kind of almost not forget about rotation, but understand how it's going to play a factor. So when I set up, take your normal setup, and just for the time being, to cure a -11 path, we're going to adjust setup a tiny bit. So we're going to get set up. We're going to drop the right foot back a few inches, 3, 4, 5 inches. And then we're going to take our hips and our chest, and we're going to point them a little back. So my chest, my sternum, and my belt buckle are now pointed 3 inches behind the ball. And then I'm going to set up here. So now I've closed myself off to the right. So I'm kind of aimed in the opposite direction of how the club was traveling before. So again, I'm going to take the right foot, drop it back a few inches, take my sternum and my belt buckle, move it back a few inches, and set up. The move I want you guys to work on, just go up to about hip high. So swing the club up to about hip high. And from here, what I want you to think, I want you to try to keep your belt buckle and your sternum pointed at that spot that's about 3 inches behind the ball. Try to keep it pointed there as long as possible. Another idea you can have is try to keep your back to the target as long as possible. From there, we're at hip high. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to keep my chest and my belt buckle pointed there. I'm going to allow my hands to drop as I shift. So from the face on, as I shift into my left, my hands are going to drop behind me. And then from here, the club's in this position. Then I just want you to turn and hit the ball. So again, we're going to go through it all again. You're going to set up, drop the right foot back 3 or 4 inches. I'm going to set my belt buckle and sternum back a few inches. Then I'm going to go up. I'm going to shift, hands drop, and swing out to the right. So it's going to look like this. And then the result of that would be my club path on that particular shot was 6.8 degrees to the right, inside to out. My face was closed 1 degree. So then my face to path becomes a -7. That is why that ball started a touch right and curved back to the left. So that's a drill I want you guys to work on in order to shift your path from way left to more to the right. So again, I can't stress this enough. I want you to kind of toss out the idea of just rotate, rotate, rotate. You're going to hit the ball much further doing it this way. You're going to hit it more consistent, and you're just going to get way better results, right? So again, just think about it in the table tennis idea or the tennis version, right? Or even soccer, right? If my hand's the ball, if I want to hit this as short as possible and as spinny as possible, I'm going to take the club and take it out here and cut across it as hard as I can at a glancing blow. That's what's happening in your golf swing when you see it start left and go way to the right. All right, guys, so further backing up how we're going to get away from that -11 path that we talked about earlier, I have a super simple drill you're going to do. Grab 2 head covers, any head covers, 3-wood, putter, whatever it is. You're going to set one head cover on the outside side of the golf ball, the other one more on the inside. So you may have seen this drill before, but it's a simple avoidance drill. Basically, your normal swing, the -11, as your club goes out, you would hit this, and then you'd also hit my other head cover. So again, when you practice these things, I've said in other videos, I want you to swing slow, right? I want you to take your time. I want you to understand the movements you're doing rather than just swinging as fast as you can, especially in this part of the season in most states where it's a little cooler. So you're going to get set up. Again, you're going to drop the right foot back, chest back, all that stuff, and just work on a small swing where you feel like you're entering from this side, from the inside part of the golf ball, let's call it, and swinging to the outside and avoiding hitting both of these head covers. So I'm going to set up, right foot back, chest and belt buckle back, take it up to about hip high, real slow, shift, hands work down, shift, hands work down, and then swing out to the right. So then the result, right? Hopefully I did it right. Yep, club path went 6 degrees to the right. I shut the face a little too much. My face was shut -2 degrees, and face to path was -8. But that shot's a whole lot better than swinging way from the outside and way across the ball. All this rotation you've been working on your whole life is such a great skill. We just have to know how to use that and understand it. So I want you to delay rotation, prioritize pressure shifting, and everything will fall into place, hopefully. Be sure to check out some of my other videos where I talked about how to properly pressure shift, how to properly shift and do all that.